Hello everyone, Michael Lopez from 008 Studios again, and welcome back. For those of you who are new to the channel or just don't know, 008 Studios is a multimedia platform that focuses on the creation of all things fiction, books, comics, and games alike. We not only create our own content, but we sponsor other creatives and allow them to pursue their quest in doing the exact same. Today we have a pretty juicy topic for all you writing and artsy and development types, and that is, what is data-driven design versus the opposite, subjective design, if you will. In other words, data-driven decision-making versus opinionated decision-making, or data-driven creation or data-driven creativity versus intuitive creation. They're just the polar opposites. Many of you may not know that there is a difference. Many of you may not be aware of the line, but today we're going to do a deep dive into what is best, and how to bridge the gap for those of you who are curious. So, what is data-driven? Data-driven design, data-driven creativity, data-driven decision-making. However you want to categorize it or label it, it is exactly the way it sounds. You are taking data elements from whatever research or study you are conducting, and you're manipulating them or using it to your creative needs, creative benefits. Whether you're writing, drawing, or development, you are trying to push something into production that is data-backed and proven to make a splash regardless of what it is. An example of data elements that you may be looking at is what sells most, what method of delivery is preferred, what platforms are selling most to your target audience, what method of writing or what method of game design are becoming popular or what are trending currently on whatever platform you're looking at. That type of stuff drives your decisions in your project to make something that you know is going to be a hit, or something that you know people are going to be attracted to. Something as simple as color schemes for illustration or promotional art, stuff that really grabs the eye. All your decisions for a project are made off of existing data. Right? On the other end of the spectrum, you have what could be considered subjective creation, opinion-driven decision-making, intuitive or instinctual design. However you want to label that, it is the exact opposite of data-driven, which means that you do not take any data elements into consideration for whatever medium or project you're working on. You are creating something for the sake of creating it. You are creating something for you. You are creating something that you feel or have experienced yourself will make a splash on its own. There is no guarantee because there are no numbers backing it, and it's completely intuitive. And I hate using the term in the actual definition, but it's exactly what that is. It sounds exactly the way it is, or it is exactly the way it sounds. There are two opposite ends of the spectrum, but both have their merits. Off the get-go, you may be thinking, well, how does one even compare to the other? Does one end of the spectrum rival the other? And the answer is very simple. They each have their own purpose. Data-driven is limited by its scope, and really, intuitive, or whatever you want to call it, creative creation is limited by its proof. If you remember the first book that you've ever read, or if you remember the first game that you ever played, the feeling of being transported into that fantastical world, that fantasy, sci-fi, horror genre, being enveloped in whatever reading that you're taking place, or whatever art and features and mechanical, motions that you are experiencing with a controller or a keyboard. Whatever experience you want to take, the first time that you are introduced into that element, how confident are you that numbers will be able to produce or replicate that feeling for you? If, for example, an AI tool were to generate a book or a game, how confident are you that you are going to get the same feeling that you had back then from something like that? That is the difference. Data-driven produces what sells. Sure, it may be enjoyable, but is it really capturing? Does it really bring you into that immersion for X amount of time? The creative aspect of it, the opposite end of the spectrum, is you have a huge world, but how many people are truly interested? And as you deep dive into that and you explore both sides of the spectrum, both are used on their own, right? But it's only truly when you bridge the gap that you get something worthwhile. Now, before we jump into that, some other examples that I can think of is, let's say Apple. The repetition of the iPhone. The new designs are based off of previous designs, previous things that people know will sell. That's why you have a lot of repetitive designing in those phones. Likewise, and I hate to kind of just throw people on their bus, but Call of Duty is a great game on its own, but it's evolved from World War II franchise to Modern Warfare, and then now to a multiplayer platform that has battle royale and a whole bunch of stuff. That evolution took place because of trends. The designers and the companies noticed the trend and just implemented that because they knew that was going to sell the new version of their product. Other examples of the other side of the spectrum may be the influx of indie games that have come into the market. And, they're all great games, great ideas. Sure, we may have negative opinions about some just because of, whatever the reason, but the influx is what I'm focusing on. You have so many ideas and so many items that are coming into the market, flooding the market, right? And there's only so many of us that can explore so much. How much reach can those ideas have on their own? If you're following, then I hope this next part makes sense. When you bridge the gap, when you have both data-driven aspects and something, innovative, your own little twist or your own little flair to the idea into whatever project you're working with, that's when you really have potential. That's when you really have the ability to make that splash. Fortunately for us, there is a way to bridge the gap, but it's not that simple. Otherwise, everybody would do it. The thing to keep in mind is this: one side of the spectrum is not bad. If you are a data-driven designer, great, you have your purpose, you have what works for you. If you are a creative heart or a creative mind that you just do stuff out of intuition, that is also great. You are doing something for you, you know it works for you, you have your purpose. When you do teamwork, that's when those mindsets and those methods start making sense and overlapping and really start creating something. That's the beauty of teamwork, when you bring different minds to one project. And that's why some indie developer groups, or some books that are co-authored, or just young AAA companies, or AA companies, whatever you want to call them, that's why some of those games make a splash so suddenly. And so it may be their first game and it just kicks off. That is why, because they take advantage of both the mindsets, of both the methods, and they just make the best of it. Now, as an individual, if you are a solo leveler, so to speak, if you want to learn how to bridge the gap and wear both hats and manage both hats, it's absolutely possible with practice. If you're a writer, if you're an artist or a developer, practice what you preach, practice what you want to sell, and explore different items over and over and over again. If you're a writer, my suggestion, as always, is sprints. Sprint to your different projects. Make sure you complete your projects, keep adding to that portfolio, and just keep exploring with different methodologies. If you're a developer, game jams are a tremendous tool. Go to visual novel game jams, go to dungeon game jams, go to whatever game jams that you can find and explore different genres and different style games that you can create on your own. Now, if you are a multimedia explorer, like, you know how to draw, you know how to write, you know how to develop a game or develop an application, put them all together. Just go ahead and start creating stuff. Practice makes perfect. Practice bridges the gap. If you are able to successfully explore both data-driven design and know how to spark something out of nothingness, the chances of you creating something that meets both worlds is going to increase exponentially. Now, is there a benefit to knowing both? Of course there is. I just kind of laid it out for you. But is it mandatory? Is it absolutely needed? No, it's not. Know that you are not alone in this world. You are not the only creative. And it's very simple to just talk to somebody to collaborate. That is the purpose of the studio, and thus rolling into the closeout. Ultimately, your style will drive you to whichever end of the spectrum best suits you. Only practice will really help you with the ability of crossing the bridge, if you so desire. Now, if you don't want to, if you don't feel the need, that's what the studio is here to do. This is the purpose of that collaborative network that we've built. If you ever feel like you need somebody to collaborate with on one of your projects, or if you ever just want to explore a different medium, that's what we're here for. Reach out to us, explore those publishing methodologies or those sponsorship opportunities, and let us know how we can help you bring your story to life. Now, that's all I have for today. I hope that you found this video helpful, at least an interesting topic, regardless of what medium you practice. And really, just I hope that you stand by for the next. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to this video and this channel. Check out our site, check out our 2023 releases. There's more on the horizon. And that's it, really, guys. Cheers. See you guys on the next one.